Der Gegner von Steve Lennon kommt aus England, aus dem Süden Englands, aus Plymouth, ist 45 Jahre alt, war bei der Weltmeisterschaft 2017 im Alexandra Palace in diesem Jahr zum ersten Mal mit dabei. Die Rede ist vom Mirror Man. Herzlich willkommen, Simon Stevenson.
So one man from the island of Ireland already through to the second round here in Risa, day one of the international. And Dolan from County Fermanagh safely through, 6-0 at the expense of Andy Hamilton. Let's see how Steve Lennon can fare from Carlo in the Republic of Ireland up against Simon Stevenson. And it's fair to say it's not really happened for the 45-year-old from Plymouth this year. He had a very impressive 2016. Just one last 16 appearance though on the Pro Tour, I should say, for this year so far. Paul Nicholson alongside me for this one. What do you think's gone wrong with Stevenson so far in 2017? Like I say, it's not really happened for him. Many people were impressed by the way he burst onto the scene on the Pro Tour last year, but just something seems to have dropped off.
Something has dropped off, that is for sure, and I'm not sure whether it's something to do with a change of flights and a change of lie of his dart, something we'll get to in a minute, but at the end of last year,
ladies and gentlemen, first leg is Steve to go first. Game on.
Simon Stevenson was going in the right direction. He made the World Championships for the first time. I saw his game very close up, and especially at the Pro Tours in Dublin last year, I saw his game very close, and I was very impressed with what he was doing on the dartboard. But as you can see, his flights are very, very small now compared to what they were like this time last year. He used to have a very large flight and get them to stand up a bit, very much like Steve Lennon does now. But he's made a conscious decision that he wants them to lie a different way. Now, it's no coincidence that he's very pally with Justin Pipe, and those flights look very similar to what Justin Pipe uses.
140.
So maybe he's trying to do a bit of adjusting.
$134.
But you're right, Rob, his results have gone south this year compared to last year, so maybe he's just taking his time to get used to this new setup.
55.
Because the rhythm and the technique and the grip look exactly the same, so it must just be that for me.
Yeah, just to illustrate exactly what he achieved last year, he was the first player to earn a tour card at Q School in 2016. He continually reached the latter stages of floor tournaments. He also qualified for the 2017 World Championship as well at the first time of asking. Lost to Zoran Lerschbacher in the prelims.
152.
Had that European Tour appearance in Austria as well.
120.
Almost lighting things up with a 152 check out there, but we'll be back on 32. Stevenson applying some pressure here, though. That's an excellent setup, just in case Lennon should fluff his lines here, but 3 cracks at double 16 for the opener.
Looks awkward from this angle.
Yeah, that's even more awkward. Has to just ever so slightly, but actually found the bottom left-hand corner.
Simon to go first. Game on.
Puzzlements on the face of Paul Nicholson with that one. He looked to be moving upwards, didn't he? And then actually found the bottom left-hand corner. Sometimes
Getting in the mind of a dart player is a strange, strange thing. And nobody knows their own game like the person who is throwing darts. And Steve Lennon does a lot of practicing. And he knew there was room at the bottom there, and he knew he could hit it. And he didn't even hesitate. It's a very, very impressive dart.
Well, a win today for Lennon would be uncharted territory for him. He has yet to win a European Tour match. He made his debut at the German Open in Saarbrücken earlier this year. He lost to Christian Kist in the first round there, 6-4. Christoph Ratajski did for him at the European Darts Grand Prix in Sindelfingen, and then Ratajski again in Maastricht earlier this month, 6-0 in that one. He'll be glad, therefore, that Ratajski's not here this weekend for the first time on the European Tour in 2017. It's like a World Cup without Brazil, Paul, not having Ratajski here this weekend.
60.
Playing a low blow contest in boxing without Andrew Galotta. Yeah, Ratajski's been and ever present this year, and it's going to be strange not for him to be here. But
100.
we're going to get to see cheeky Nando Bajeg later against John Michael, so that'll be a brilliant contest, I'm sure.
Yeah, first match of the evening session. Yeah, just checking that.
99.
8 matches this afternoon, 8 matches in the evening session. The 16 winners go through to join the 16 seeded players tomorrow on the stage for the second round.
You can see there from the pictures what
100.
Simon Stevenson's trying to do. He's trying to lie them very flat. Not as pronounced as Justin does when Justin hits the treble 20, he covers the bullseye.
60.
But a very, very similar type of
141.
action. Yet Simon's a little bit quicker with the throw, but it's a very similar style. Double 19 with a left double 12. Lennon can strike here. May need the bullseye on the end of this one. Treble 20, first target. Treble 19 will leave that bullseye.
59. 52.
Shots like this, Rob, where you find out what people like.
Yeah.
Is it tops or 16s? It's tops.
That's
right, there's why.
as well, yeah, very, very comfortably taken out.
First. Game on.
I'm trying to think, actually, talking about Stevenson last year, was he must have been a candidate for Newcomer of the Year in the PDC Awards. I'm not sure if they had a PDC Newcomer of the Year award last year. I mean, this year, no doubt about it, Rob Cross, but I can't think who came out on top of that. I'll just do some digging around into that.
Sometimes it's Newcomer of the Year, sometimes
100.
Alan Norris was the year before.
it's most improved, yeah.
Or most improved player, yeah. Depending on what is achieved, yeah.
Yeah.
Whoever catches the eye.
108.
Well, Steve Lennon is improving in this match, definitely in this leg, but a lot's been said about Steve, about him carrying the future of Irish darts. Well, Irish darts this weekend is very well represented.
Yeah, 5 players, north and south.
I'm looking forward to seeing William O'Connor later, someone who is going to feature in the Tom Kirby Memorial Final. So, good luck to Willie on that one. That takes place, I believe, in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
The final of the Grand Prix.
85. 85.
Treble 15 or 19. Gets the treble 15 for tops. Gets the double 10.
Steve Lennon.
Very impressive.
Very stylishly done indeed by Steve Lennon, himself a newcomer. He clinched his tour card earlier this year. First ever trip to Q School, in fact, for Steve Lennon, beating Scott Derbyshire.
140.
I'm trying to think if that was on day 1 or not, when Lennon secured it.
It was day 2 or 3, because he didn't. Day 4.
Right.
95.
Off the top of my head, I think it might have been day 3. But
Was he a player that you encountered that week?
Once in UK qualification, I played him.
Right.
I didn't play him at Q School,
80.
but the one time he played me, my word, I was like a chicken breast put on a chopping board, and I was hammered with that tenderizer. I was flat as a chicken schnitzel by the time he was finished with me. He hit everything. I was so impressed. As soon as that game was over, I shook his hand, I said, well done,
55.
and I walked over to Mick McGowan and said, who was that?
Yeah.
And he told me, says, that is the future of Irish darts.
Well, he's got plenty on his shoulders then.
39.
He's got points on the floor there.
126.
Stevenson 1-2-6 away here to level the match. It's on his throat.
Good like that.
Yeah, Treble would have left the bull, but not to be.
98.
Yeah, good darts from Simon. Leaves the Mensur. I think there's a little C next to that double 14 these days. Copyrighted Mensur Sulevic. But the pressure's on now.
28.
Just in case Simon Stevenson can't get rid of this, Steve Lennon is lurking around, and it's awkward.
Yeah, and it was so fitting, wasn't it, the way he culminated everything in Cardiff as well with
No
sort of
score.
taking that one.
47.
Well, the 180 has given him this opportunity of 2 shots at tops for this break of throw, and gets it. He strikes. The Irish are doing really well this weekend already, and we're only into the second game.
Yeah, so far so good. We'll have to wait a little while for our next Irish player on the stage, Mick McGowan against Ron Moulenkamp in the penultimate match of the afternoon session. Oh, Willie O'Connor just before that, sorry.
Yeah, really happy for Willie to make the Tom Kirby final, but not just because he's got an opportunity to win that fantastic tournament, but there's one really dangerous player out of the PDPA World Championship qualifier in November. So, one down, probably about another 80 to go.
140.
Yeah, great names on that trophy. Nick McGowan, of course, has won it the last couple of years. Simon Stevenson's in there again.
180.
Yeah, just a bit of pressure here on the Lennon throw. Chance for Stevenson to start thinking about breaking back, but Lennon comes good again here.
140.
And gets down to a finish of 161.
I don't know how you feel about Steve Lennon's demeanour, Rob, but it's very old school, in my opinion. It's
125. Stevie 161.
I think his demeanour, I don't think I've ever heard him say a word. He'll say something if he hits the bullseye. Oh, good effort.
Simon 136.
Just the slight concern for Lennon here is that he might start trying too hard. He knows, or I'm sure he'll be aware, that he's had 3 previous European Tour visits this year. Lost in the first round of all of them. He'll be desperate for that first win, and you just worry that the closer he gets to that 6th leg, that's when the nerves will become more tangible, you feel. But in the right direction, he's got the 4th leg on the board. Stevenson with work to do here.
He's moving in the right direction on the Pro Tour as well. He's gradually getting better on the floor tournaments. He's qualifying for European events on a more regular basis now.
140.
Just get the feeling that he's one of those players who is learning from the losing.
Yeah.
And now he's learning to win.
It's worth mentioning as well, I was just going to say, how these two had very, very similar pathways to this tournament as well in qualifying. Both had 2 6-5 wins. Lennon beat Dave Pallett and Joe Miller, 6-5 for the pair, and then Stevenson likewise against Robert Owen and Richie Burnett. So they both had to come through some arduous battles to get here.
Yeah, Robert Owen is not an easy match right now.
The way he played in Maastricht, yeah.
And playing Richie Burnett, the Rudolf Nureyev of darts.
140.
Yeah, not easy games there. I mean, let's say that Dave Pallett and Joe Murnan for Steve Lennon, they're 2 very tough games. Two heavy scorers.
Tough one awaits the winner as well. Gerwin Price, the number 15 seed here this weekend, is the reward for the winner of this one. And at the moment, it looks as though it will be Lennon. Bullseye.
96.
It will be the bullseye, I think, that Simon Stevenson will use first. Oh, stay there. Go on, hit a 25. Now, if you can fit this in, you are Dennis Priestley, number 2. Oh. I thought it was in, you know, Rob. I thought it was in.
25.
That was a really good attempt by Simon Stevenson. It all might be in vain, though, because double 10 for Steve Lennon will give him a 5-1 lead here, and that's a bit harsh on Simon Stevenson. It's not really a match that looks like a 5-1, but that's exactly the position he finds himself in.
This is very much a Steve Lennon type game. He's just compounding the misery of the person who isn't playing that badly. Now, when he played me earlier this season, Steve Lennon took out 321 finishes, and all 3 were different ways. So he does know, just like the 1-2-1.
Yep.
He didn't hit it on the previous leg, but he's getting closer.
Well, let's see. We talked about Steve Lennon's mental strength as he approaches the finish line here. Nothing wrong with it so far. Still chalking up the big numbers.
Has Steve Lennon got a nickname? I don't think he has.
I have to hold my hands up and say I wasn't listening to the introductions when the 2 players came on stage. Nothing on the back of the shirt. I'm trying to see if Elmar can film me. No, he can't.
151.
It's got to be something to do with John, surely.
Come on.
Something a bit more original than that? What about the Irish Eagle?
100.
Very much like
Dinky.
Simon Stevenson this time was left a 1-2-1, and he's going to have to hit this because Steve Lennon is on a double after 12. This goes, or he may be out.
A lovely first start. Bullseye then. Oh, well, he had enough practice at the bullseye in the previous leg, and it paid dividends there. A 1-2-1 checkout just to give Lennon a few reminders. Excellent play from Simon Stevenson. Just a shot in the arm, and he needed that, really. Still has a lot of work to do.
He mentioned, Rob, that possibly Steve Lennon would get getting towards that sixth leg. Well, he did everything right. He leads a double after 12. Doesn't even get a look at it because of the brilliance of the man from Plymouth.
58.
Yeah. Simon Stevenson, actually, I played an exhibition with him last December in his backyard. Not his actual backyard, but it was in Plymouth. And a wonderful, wonderful place.
45.
Great people. And Simon that night was pitched against Raymond van Barneveld in his World Championship warm-up. And he actually beat Raymond that night, quite convincingly.
100.
But, yeah, shout out to everybody who was there that night. What a brilliant time we had. And Simon Stevenson just showing why he's considered a very dangerous player with that full finish.
60.
Well, that would just tell Steve Lennon that he can't really afford to leave anything at the moment because, that, you know, we've seen this time and time again. Players seemingly out of it. They just seem to have that extra freedom to go for their shots and there's not so much pressure. And when you are chasing a game like this, you know, you can suddenly tilt it in your favour with some big pressure moments coming off like that. Like I say, Stevenson still has work to do, but 140 gets him down to 196. This is still Lennon's leg to lose. He's stolen the darts here.
59.
Well, 144 is very doable. Peter Wright had a beauty last week at the Champions League of darts against Mensa Zulevic on Saturday night.
60.
But Simon Stevenson, I guarantee you, he needed more than that.
Yeah, he needed at least one treble there just to give himself a fighting chance here. And you never know, Steve Lennon could take out this 144. It won't happen this time, though.
120.
But that's a beautiful approach again to leave himself double eight. And you feel this has to go.
Can he do it again? Oh, can he do it again? Oh, that would have been even more special. But now Steve Lennon, match darts, can close it out.
Yeah, 3 match darts here for Steve Lennon. At double eights, and he only needs one of them. And he comes through in the end fairly comfortably, 6-2. But I don't think that really tells the whole story. Simon Stevenson applying pressure throughout that one, especially late on with that stylish checkout of 1-2-1, but it counts for very little indeed. Lennon goes through. The Irishman joins the Northern Irishman, Brendan Dolan, in the second round draw tomorrow. And after 3 blanks on the European Tour so far this year, Lennon finally comes good as he takes a well-earned glug of water. And he'll get to speak to Elmar Polka for the first time this year as well. That's the ultimate reward. On the way next, we've got Darren Webster, who's caught the eye again this year against Luke Woodhouse.
For you to play on such a stage, right?
No, I've been here 3 times before and never over the line, so it's nice to finally get it.
Gerben Price is the next opponent. Top 20 player. What do you expect?
It'll be a tough game anyway. Very well played anyway.
Yeah. So, okay. See you tomorrow. Thank you very much. Steve Lennon. Er sagt, er war ganz schön nervös. Er ist es nicht gewohnt hier auf der Bühne. Ich glaube, er ist noch